Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Ed Talks. And someone I'm super jealous of because he lives in my home state of Colorado, Andy Strunk. Andy, welcome to Ed Talks.
Hey, Ed, thanks a lot for having me. It's great to be here.
Hey Andy, you're kind of like me where not only do you love Colorado, but you started your own thing. Tell us about Accretive Edge.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question. I've been in and around healthcare and health technology for 26 years now, and that's always been on the provider side for the first 5 years. And then after my MBA program for the past about 17 years, working for large companies developing and launching new digital health services. As I went up in organizations, I spent more time internally focused, realized that I missed customer interaction and being in the field, and decided earlier this year to start my own firm as a fractional chief commercial officer and go-to-market strategist. And I've been doing that since first quarter of 2025.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And congratulations. And I wanted to just highlight you because you're similarly wired, where it was fun to be in those other companies, nothing negative about them at all. But if you want to move things fast, it's kind of fun to do your own thing. You don't have as much bureaucracy. You probably don't have as many bylaws or policies. So tell us about a creative edge. Go a little bit deeper. Tell us about what you do and who you help.
Yeah, no, thanks. I am largely focused on assisting digital health companies. And so that I define as either platform as a service companies that allows others to build on top of the platforms in the healthcare setting, or software as a service companies, so packaged solutions that are sold into health systems. Over the course of my career, I have spent time at UpToDate, Wolters Kluwer Health, Salesforce on the Health Cloud team, and most recently 4 years at Google Health and Verily Life Sciences. During the course of all of that work, I was spending a lot of time helping product teams appreciate healthcare, technology, and business as it relates to the business of healthcare. And so what I really built a competency for was helping folks that were in product management roles develop products that were going to be meaningful both to their users, but also then helping on the translational piece on a go-to-market side and really figuring out how to translate those user benefits into buyer benefits into B2B sales motions. And so I really built a competency in working with health system leaders. Cleveland Clinic was on my roster of
Yeah.
folks that I've worked with in the past, which I know you know well, but really honing in and understanding the buyer personas and then helping companies come up with messaging in four buckets primarily that would resonate with those buyer personas. And I do that work today as an independent fractional chief commercial officer. Particular exercise I go through almost with every client and everybody that I've worked with over the course of my career is really coming up with messaging that aligns with operational, financial, clinical, and provider patient experience. And a lot of my focus is working with companies to talk about how what they do moves the needle in each of those four buckets. And the idea being is that I then go into a sales enablement mode and train the sales force on how to engage with any CXO sitting across from them in the boardroom at a health system to advance a particular B2B sale. So that's the bulk of the work that I do. Yeah, so I've talked to
Yeah.
many Ed Marxes along the way, and CIOs are always one of my most nuanced audiences. We want to be friendly and helpful to each other, but CIOs reasonably are skeptical and ask a lot of difficult questions. So love working with folks like you, and it's a bit of an effort, but well worth it in the end.
Yeah, Andy, what's your recommendation to a company or startup that's trying to work with the CIO and runs into the typical obstacles that they would? What's the biggest, let me ask it a different way. What's the biggest reason why they get a no? And then how were you successful in getting to a yes?
I think that it's going in as a perceived point solution. And I'm saying this in the presence of somebody that has sat in the seat for a long time. So we'll do
Yeah.
some real time fact checking. But I think, a lot of digital health companies, it's a double-edged sword, right? They're told in order to be successful in the early days, be focused. So they go out and they're focused. And
Mm.
they go into a health system talking about the one thing that they're really going to change. And then they're sitting across from somebody like you who's thinking about any number of things, including
Yeah.
how are we going to keep the scheduling system on? Is Epic or EHR going to stay on? Is there a cyber threat? So I think it's really the no's in the past have been, hey, this is a point solution. In signing you up as a point solution, I am exposing myself to the same amount of risk as signing on with somebody that has an enterprise solution
Yeah.
that solves a bunch of problems. And so oftentimes I meet with founders that are frustrated by that. They're not familiar with how the CIO thinks. So it's a process of then talking about what do partnerships look like. So for example, on the data integration front, there's third-party vendors. You have the Redoxes, the One Up Health, Gorilla Health, that already have relationships with provider organizations that a digital health company could partner with. And there's already trust built with and a contract in place between the provider organization and that integration layer that can help get a CIO to yes. Another thing is looking at various health platforms. So if you are a point solution, be proud of that, but recognize that you're going to have to be perceived as something broader. So there are platforms out there that you can go on to that already have relationships with provider organizations, and you can show up in a category surrounded by others that are not competitive to you, but complementary.
Yeah.
And that can also be quite helpful.
Yeah, I think that was brilliant, Andy, and why people come to you, given the breadth and depth of the experience that you talked about, where you were with big companies, but you also were part of smaller companies. And you're absolutely right. Most CIOs are looking for that sort of enterprise class solution for the reasons you cited. You might have the best product ever that's super niche, but there's a way to come around it. And you gave a couple examples actually on how to do that. What about for someone aspiring to be like you, Andy, like working not independent yet to get to the guru status that you have now and being able to start your own, but someone who's looking to get into the business, the world that you've been in? What might be one or two practical steps that they might take that'll help them achieve the career success they're looking for?
Yeah, I think so start in a bigger company, go learn, and importantly, go make your mistakes in concert with somebody with deep pockets and where a rookie mistake isn't going to set the company back dearly. So finding a large organization and really seeking out a few titles along the way to gain some experience. I think if you have the chops to be a product manager and officially hold roadmap responsibilities, story writing, and kind of market synthesis capabilities, that is a great skill set. So that's bucket one. Bucket two, then, that was on the inbound side. Bucket two is on the outbound side. If you can gain a role called product marketing or go to market or commercialization, anything where you are in partnership with the product management organization, defining the value, creating the messaging, and getting out and talking to customers and pressure testing the solution every day and getting some experience there, those two elements can be quite helpful. And if you aspire to be in the digital health space, it's a technology opportunity. Looking for opportunities, even if you don't have an aptitude for highly technical conversations, the more exposure that you can get, at least for a period of time, with the engineering organization that you're working with, it's only going to make you more credible to have these types of conversations.
Yeah, that's great career advice. You gave a great example earlier, working with a CIO, mostly from a small company perspective, but you also help more mature companies maximize their ROI and things like that. What is one thing, an example of you've helped a more mature company gain improved ROI or traction in the marketplace?
Yeah, I think this applies. So I got the experience at a large company. It was Wolters Kluwer Health. Wolters Kluwer owns UpToDate, which is a clinical decision support tool set that's widely adopted by doctors and other licensed healthcare professionals. I was the head of their innovation lab for a number of years, and we had a new concept that was called Point of Care Advisor, and that was really taking patient contextual clinical information and serving up nuggets of up-to-date information at the point of care. When we started out and started to solicit pilot sites for this new product offering, we knew there was going to be an ROI, but we only had our hypotheses. So in order to get going and to help this organization that was really well established still get in to test the new product, we did literature review, and anybody can do this. You can go to PubMed, you can do Google Scholar searches. Just look for any sort of proxies that you can use, because you're going to want to be making future-leaning claims about what your product is going to do, and you can probably stitch together your story based on the evidence that's already out there, just packaged around the solution that you're offering. And we found that to be quite effective. And then, of course, as you have a pilot, you get your proof points. You start substituting the hypothetical and your literature review with your actual results and start to publish on that.
Yeah, great example. And then that's what makes Accretive Edge, your company, so spectacular, is that you have that broad base of experience, small company and larger companies, and can help others, achieve the goals that you laid out in the very beginnings. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with my audience. How do they Yeah, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, I'm easy to find. The name of the company is Accretive Edge, and I'm on LinkedIn too. So I hope to see you all out there.
Yeah, we'll put all that in the show notes. Thank you for being our guest.